Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. I just want to give a quick update. We're going to start here in just a few moments while we work through a few technical difficulties and wait for a few other folks to join. But stick with us, and we will be with you shortly. Okay, hi everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Sorry about that, we're just working through a few technical difficulties. So today's webinar is Supported Living Initiative, Success Stories and Guidebook Introduction, presented by Jesse Smathers and Caitlin Bailey. My name is Drew Smith, and I am with Community Bridges Consulting Group. As many of you know, typically my business partner Kelly Friedlander hosts these series, but last night Kelly and her husband Greg met their new son, and both Kelly and baby are happy and healthy, and so understandably Kelly is not with us today. So just real quick about today's webinar. So for today's webinar, please write and post your questions in the comment box. Time allowing, Jesse and Caitlin will address questions at the end of the presentation. Otherwise, we will respond to questions in writing after the call. Also, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available after the presentation. With that, I will hand the presentation over to Jesse.
Thank you, Drew, and thanks for filling in for Kelly. I'm sure she's excited about her new arrival. This is the final webinar that will be offered through the 3-year Supported Living Making the Difference initiative. This afternoon, we will provide a summary of our efforts over the past 3 years, provide an overview of the electronic guidebook, provide a sampling of the video vignettes that will be part of the electronic guidebook, explore the dignity of experience section of the electronic guidebook, and touch on a few of the important takeaways that will be included in the final report for the initiative. The Supported Living Making the Difference initiative has been made possible through a collaborative effort between the North Carolina Council on Developmental Disabilities, the NCCDD or the Council, and the North Carolina Money Follows the Person Project, MFP, a Medicaid project that assists Medicaid-eligible North Carolinians who live in long-term intermediate care facilities or skilled nursing homes to move into community-based living arrangements. The Council uses a 5-year plan developed with stakeholders in accordance with the Developmental Disabilities Assistance and Bill of Rights Act of 2000, the DD Act, to outline goals, objectives, and specific activities to bring about change. The current 5-year plan, effective from 2017 through 2021, was adopted by the 40-member council and approved by the Administration on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, the AIDD, on October 1st, 2016. The 5-year plan identifies 3 overarching goals. Goal 1 focuses on increasing financial security through asset development for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities so that they and their families have greater opportunities for choice, self-determination, independence, and productivity. Goal 2 emphasizes increasing community living opportunities for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, ensuring that people with IDD be fully included, respected, valued, and supported in the community of their choice. And finally, Goal 3 aims to ensure that more individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities will lead and sustain self-directed lives through self-advocacy, family advocacy, and stakeholder leadership. The Supported Living Making the Difference initiative is characterized under Goal 2 of the 5-year plan, increasing community living options for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. ViaHealth responded to the request for proposals for the Supported Living Making the Difference initiative in partnership with the National Leadership Consortium on Developmental Disabilities at the University of Delaware. Nancy Weiss and Caitlin Bailey have represented that agency. Relentless Leadership, Lynn Siegel's consulting firm. Lynn, as many of you already know, is the executive director of Hope House Foundation in Norfolk, Virginia, which closed their last congregate living arrangement in 1994 and currently serves about 125 people with disabilities in their own homes. And Community Resources Alliance, or CRA. That's Derek Dufresne's consulting firm. And 4 service provider agencies in North Carolina: the ARC of North Carolina, Liberty Corner Enterprises, First Resource Center, and Turning Point Services. We also partnered with Community Bridges Consulting Group, that's Kelly Friedlander and Drew Smith's firm, and added them to guide webinar development during the first year of the initiative. The partners work to transition 6 people per provider agency to their own homes, using supported living supports that are available in the NC Innovations Home and Community-Based Services waiver for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. A learning community was developed that offered learning opportunities at conferences, online through webinars. We've had meetings to receive feedback from stakeholders, both in person and virtually. We've shared successes and challenges experienced by individuals that chose to transition to the supported living model. Additionally, the initiative has collected data through surveys and interviews with participants. The initiative has strived to offer technical assistance specific to supported living, education opportunities for professionals and others in the community about supported living, to identify strategies for successful use of supported living, and to identify cultural and systems challenges and barriers to the use of supported living. My co-presenter, Caitlin Bailey, will share more detail about the information gathered, the collected survey data, later in this presentation. We applied for the initiative in 2016, were selected. We started planning for the initiative in January of 2017. The contracted consultants participate in planning activities with the participating providers, the ARC of NC, Liberty Corner Enterprises, First Resource Center, and Turning Point Services. During the initial meetings, each agency determined the amount of support they would need from the consulting professionals. Each agency worked with care coordinators and families to identify people interested in living in their own homes with supports through the supported living service definition. And thus far, 37 people are being supported through the 4 partner provider agencies and followed through this initiative. They are currently receiving supported living services in their own homes. And I'm aware of 2 other people that are planning to move into their own homes at this time. The learning community was launched with a statewide conference in March of 2017. The 2-day Supported Living, a Shared Vision conference was held in Greensboro and attended by 282 people from across the state. The initiative partnered with Monarch, Cardinal Innovations, and Alliance Behavioral Health. Those are other, Monarch's a provider agency in North Carolina. Cardinal and Alliance are other local management entity managed care organizations, to bring David Petoniak to do a 1-day workshop in Durham called Beyond Behaviors in July of 2018. And almost 200 people attended this event. In October of this year, the initiative sponsored a closing conference, Supported Living, Including Everyone. David Petoniak was the featured speaker for this event, and he presented a 2-day workshop called The Importance of Belonging, and we closed the event with he closed the event with a plenary titled Walking the Fire Road. On the 3rd day of the conference, a panel featuring 8 people that have been living in their own homes with supported living supports touched the hearts of everyone in attendance. Attendance for this event was around 100 people. Throughout the initiative, conference presentations focused on supported living have occurred at the North Carolina Training, Instruction, Development, Education Conference. That's known as NC-TIDE. Presentations occurred at that conference in April of 2017, fall of 2017, the spring of 2018. Presentations about the initiative were featured at the ARC Annual Conference and the ARC of North Carolina Annual Conference in 2018. The Integrative Care Conference at the Mountain Area Health Education Center, sponsored by VIA and MAHEC in spring of 2018, and the North Carolina Provider Council Annual Conference in fall of this year. The initiative has also been featured and discussed at the VIA Health Provider Summit and Learning Academy in fall of 2017, and then again fall of this year. In all, through conferences and other presentations, the initiative has reached over 1,500 people. Presentations about supported living and other community resources occurred at 3 state-operated healthcare facilities in North Carolina: J. Iverson Riddle Center in Morganton, Broughton State Hospital in Morganton, and Murdoch Center in Butner. Derek Dufresne with CRA was the featured speaker at each of these facilities. The presentations targeted social workers and qualified professionals employed by these facilities. Member families interested in exploring supported living attended the presentation at Murdoch Center. Successes, challenges, lessons learned through the initiative have been presented at 2 national conferences: the 2018 National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities Annual Conference and the ARC's 2019 National Council of Executives, the NCE Leadership Institute, in summer of 2019. We have hosted a total of 4 in-person stakeholder meetings and 3 virtual meetings for stakeholders. And the webinar series has offered the following titles: Supported Living 101, that was led by Trish Farnham. She was contracted with the Division of Health Benefits, or North Carolina Medicaid at the time. A webinar titled Health versus Safety and Risk versus Liability, which featured Derek Dufresne. A webinar called Supporting People with Informed Decision Making that was presented by John Raphael with the National Association of Direct Support Professionals. Health, Person-Centered Living and Individualized Supports, What's the Connection? That was presented by Karen Lucan. And a deep dive into statewide survey data presented by Michelle Merrick with the Division of Health Benefits. There are webinars featuring the ARC of North Carolina, Liberty Corner Enterprises, First Resource Center, and Turning Point Services that explore the provider's experience with supported living. And as previously mentioned, this is the final webinar that will be shared through the initiatives. The webinars were recorded and can be viewed at any time on the Council's webpage. The webinars will be a part of the electronic guide also. All of the webinars except one were saved because of technical difficulties. We lost one recording of a virtual stakeholder meeting. And the presentation of the webinars, over a 3-year period in North Carolina, we experienced 2 hurricanes, which changed dates on us a few times, because 2 pretty severe hurricanes actually. So change was a constant with regard to the initiative. I would be remiss too if I did not mention that the coordination and support that we have had, thanks to our systems change manager, Philip Woodward, with other council initiatives that are intended to increase community living opportunities. The From Planning to Action Integrated Collaborative Care of People with IDD initiative, led by Karen Lucan, provided a webinar. The Natural Support Network Development initiative, led by Janet Price Farrell at the First Resource Center, will continue to build on our efforts with regard to the learning community. And the Rethinking Guardianship, a Person-Centered Approach initiative, led by Linda Kendall Fields. This initiative provided quite a bit of support. There's no doubt in my mind, and much of the survey data we have gathered supports the assumption that supported living only works when the person receiving supports has integrated health care, either has or develops a natural supports network, and when a guardian is involved, that guardian that uses supported, informed decision-making instead of traditional best interest guardianship. Each of these topics addressed in some manner in the guidebook, which will be hosted on the web page, that will be considered too. The Supported Living Guidebook will be on the council's web page, as I just mentioned. The web page will be shared with the 7 local management entities, managed care organizations that are currently in North Carolina, with the hope that they will link to the information for supported living on their websites. In some cases, the information on the page will link to specific information on the websites hosted by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and vice versa. The web page is intended to be a go-to resource that will guide those interested in supported living in North Carolina to the best resource based upon their interest. Thus, the web page will be divided into 5 categories that may make information easier to access for anyone that is interested. The 5 categories settled upon are foundational principles for everyone, information for people with disabilities and their families, a section for direct support professionals who support people with disabilities, a section for provider agencies, and then a section that outlines other resources. The Foundations for Everyone category will cover topics such as why supported living, what's the difference, dignity of experience, person-centered thinking, supported decision-making versus informed decision-making, and then a section, how do I get started? The For People with Disabilities and Their Families section will have resources beyond the foundational principles that really focus on families. Is supported living for me? An article about the right fit, finding and keeping a great companion, thinking through housing. There will also be an article from a guardian talking about the challenges moving her loved one from congregate settings into a supported living arrangement. You'll also share some of the positives that have been experienced. The section that targets direct support professionals to support people with disabilities will have information that addresses the supported living mindset, because it's different thinking than traditional service models. Cultivating community, supporting people's access to money, supporting the dignity of experience, and becoming the best support professional you can be. That section will likely link to resources available on the National Alliance for Direct Support Professionals website. The agency category will include information about setting the agency's culture, person-centered staffing practices, person-centered individualized budgeting, finding the right partnerships, supporting dignity of experience, again, because this is a common theme throughout all our work, and other considerations for the agency. The other category will list different resources such as technology's role in individualized support, accessing other public services, food stamps, those kind of things, housing resources, crisis planning and intervention. The information, documents, resource links, etc., will be submitted to this council as a final product for the initiative. It is our intention that the learning community will continue through efforts hosted by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, specifically Medicaid and Innovations Waiver stakeholder groups, and the Natural Support Network Development Initiative. So that's the overview of the electronic guidebook. We're going to transition now into a sampling of video vignettes. And the video vignettes will be at the forefront of the Foundational Principles for Everyone section of the web page that I've been talking about. Ultimately, there will be at least one video from each participating provider agency. I'll mention them again because they've been a great asset throughout these 3 years. The ARC of North Carolina, First Resource Center, Liberty Corner Enterprises, and Turning Point Services. There'll be a compilation video that shows several people living successfully in the community through supported living. The final videos will be closed captioned. Unfortunately, the final videos will not be ready until the end of the year. And and when I say we, I'm including stakeholders that have provided feedback, thought that showing people using supported living successfully would be the best way to encourage people to consider supported living as an option. So we're going to start by seeing a video that features 6 people that attended the supported living conference in October: Brittany, Deanna, Gavin, Nicole, Richard, Selena, and Sam. All these wonderful people were great. Did a really great job at the panel and answering questions. And hopefully our technology will work and we'll be able to watch this video.
Well, I love that place. I do things on my own, actually. I can dance, I can sing, I can write.
Have an apartment, make new friends while they're there.
I left my mom and help their mom in the kitchen, wash.
I really enjoy my apartment. I can really just focus on my life and myself. There's no other people living there that bother me.
Very nice. My dad is a Diana. I got in my car. I was 12 years old when that got in.
How does your history of these risks on something? My sister put me through a glass table and she told me not giving me permanent brain damage.
When I was so born, I had a disease called Welterbank syndrome. The doctors didn't even think that I would live.
I have born with Down syndrome. I was born with cerebral palsy. I also have scoliosis. And I've been using a wheelchair for quite a long time.
My disability is Down syndrome. It's a little challenge that I was going on. Autism offers me better. I got it.
Richard is a very smart young man. He is very friendly, very outgoing, loves to work outdoors. He enjoys his time on the horse farm.
We do hay bales, we move hay bales, we feed the horses.
And has made a lot of positive progress since the Turning Point.
stalker. Like, you know, I do anything, make sure that it's not me. Oh, I love it. I love it now.
My name is Brittany, and I work here at the Regal Biltmore Cinemas, scanning tickets, preparing a ticket, and directing any patrons to which theater they need to go to.
I love working, actually. I work at the Doubletree Hotel.
She does an amazing job. Always friendly, smiling, saying hello, willing to help, and just all around great person. I love her.
I do laundry and other things, and working there is a great opportunity because I love hotels.
I'm just really proud of everything I've done because I've had so many people to give me the support that I've needed and so improve people and improve myself that I can do what I've been wanting to do.
I work on Thursdays. I do art. I love with a heart. I feel good about it. I do things. If I can do this, I know they can do it. It's worth checking in the agencies about getting their own place. Try to live on your own. You can do it.
Okay, that was the first video we have. We have 3 more. We don't have all of them ready yet. That was the compilation video, and I hope it warmed and touched your heart like it does mine. The next video is going to be of Nicole. We were able to show Nicole's video at the conference in October. I think it was the only one we were successfully able to show on the first day because of technical difficulties. And I've known Nicole and her mother for many years. And when I saw, you'll see in this video, a section that shows that one of her dreams was dance with Jesse. And when I saw that on her dream list, I told Nicole that all she had to do was ask me. She was quick to point out that her boyfriend is named Jesse, and it wasn't any desire to dance with me. And a couple days later during the panel, she actually let everyone in the audience know that the Jesse on her list was not me. So without further ado, we'll watch this video.
Well, I love that place. I like to do things on my own, actually. I can dance, I can sing, I can write.
Special Olympics, gymnastics.
I do have a book. I wrote my first book, actually, and it's called Papa's Life. Yeah, so it's about who I am, about my adventures, and it's about my friends, of course.
This is when you first got your own apartment. You're very...
Hi, I'm Nicole, and when I was born and raised in Ashland, North Carolina, I was born with Down syndrome. I'm just like anyone else. I have big dreams.
I've learned a lot working with Nicole. She continues to surprise me all the time. She's very capable, has a lot of dreams. I always hoped that she would have that type of independence. And she kept stepping up. She kept trying. She kept wanting more. And that made it easier and easier for me to get out of her way so that she could be as independent and as capable as possible.
I need friends as are to help me to be supportive.
I think she likes the direction her life is going in right now, and I'm just there to support her.
I love working, actually. I work at the Doubletree Hotel.
She does an amazing job. Always friendly, smiling, saying hello, willing to help, and just all around great person. I love her. I love her.
I do laundry and other things, and working there is a great opportunity because I love hotels. I have a great service there. Living in my own place, you can do fun stuff. I was nervous about moving out, but having a place on my own is like a big dream of mine. And having it is really about living your dreams.
Okay, next is a video that's going to feature Gavin. He's being supported by Liberty Corner Enterprises.
My name is Gavin Rathbone. I'm 28 years old. I got my apartment at Asheville, North Carolina. I've been here for a year. Really fun having an apartment. Make new friends while I live here. I had a history of seizures because my sister took me to my table. My phone that gave me permanent pain. I'm doing a whole lot of stuff just to keep myself off puzzles and arts and crafts, video games, board games, listening to music. I've had a job now at the Burger King on Tunnel Road since July of this year, and that job's really fun.
I love working with him. He's a joy to be around. He makes me laugh. He says funny jokes, and I love when he works. I really do.
Clean the lobby, take trash out, fill ice, even clean parking lot, take boxes down. Very really good friends. People really like me.
I feel like a proud mom. We just help him to support him to be independent, and he does a fantastic job.
The Liberty Corners can tell you it's been a big 360. I mean, I've learned to take myself away from conflict.
Since he's been here, and it was a year last May, he's not had any incidences like that. He supports himself.
Liberty Corners helped me come a long way from who I used to be to who I am now, because they've understood what can trigger me, and some people say you gave me too many gray hairs, but
It's a wonderful feeling to know that you're helping somebody to be and to live their dream.
I had so many people to give me the support that I've needed, and improve people and improve myself, that I can do what I've been wanting to do. And I'm just really proud of everything that I've done.
Okay, I need to share a little bit of information about Gavin. Gavin's been in his own place about a year and a half. He is having great difficulty living in group home settings, and Gavin isn't receiving supported living services through the NC Innovations waiver. He's receiving supported living through long-term community supports, which is an in lieu of service that VIA worked with the department or with NC Medicaid to get approved, and it has a supported living component. We included Gavin in the videos because supported living is more than a service. It's really a culture of an agency. And the agency that works with Gavin, Liberty Corner Enterprises, they made the decision to move away from property ownership being tied to services. So they're in the process of divesting all of their properties and just focusing on providing services to people in their own homes. As part of this initiative, and with determined leadership from Greta Bird, their executive director, with consultation support from Lynn Siegel, Liberty Corners closed one of their congregate living settings, and they have plans to do the same with their 2 remaining group homes. And part of the reason that Gavin became a candidate for long-term community support, he's on the wait list for innovations, but he was living in the group home that Liberty Corners closed, and we had to find a way to help support him, and we did that through that option we have. And again, supported living's not just a service definition, it's a cultural concept. So next we will take a look at Sam's story.
Be my daddy, right?
I did be a daddy.
about a year ago. He was just full of energy and really excited about the possibility of working here, and of course has passion for animals, as we all do. So we thought we'd give it a try, and a year later, here we are, and Sam is still a wonderful learner.
I'm a stalker, but I do the same thing, make sure the service not for me, and also, like earlier I watched Star Wars. I watched Star Wars.
Honestly, Sam is so good for team morale. His energy is contagious. He's so positive. He's always happy and brings a smiling face into the store.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So I can tell.
My disability is Down syndrome. Just a little tough. Because I went through school with the same disabilities that I have. So it's a little challenge when I was growing up. Well, the service I get is through the art of drawing the sun. They help me to find a support worker who comes out and work with me with different goals that I have, and they will go out and help me to achieve a goal. To live on my own, that I'm not doing, but there's more goals. I really like hanging out with my friends.
What have you been up to?
I live on my own, and I want to be more, giving back to the community. It's really good.
Everything about Sam makes me smile. He has a YouTube channel where you can see his music, and during the panel discussion at the conference, he was so energetic. He was asked by an audience member how his parents felt about him moving out on his own. He said his mother was fearful about it, and about the move, and not sure how things would go. And then he said his dad was like, "Yay! He's finally moving out." And of course, you can imagine how the whole audience responded to that. Sam also did the favor of presenting one of our stakeholder meetings, a planning meeting that we did in November 2018. He lives in the Raleigh area, and he's just a delight to know. Over the past 3 years, we've consistently seen that one of our greatest challenges in supported living is culturally. You've probably heard me say the words dignity of experience a few times, and that our guidebook will try to tackle dignity of experience through a few thought exercises. In preparing this webinar, Caitlin and I felt that it would be best, and based on the information that she's gathered, that discussing some of the information from the guidebook on the topic of dignity of experience would be a good thing to do with our limited time. You have the opportunity to attend the Supported Living Shared Vision Conference in Greensboro in March of 2017. You have participated in a brief exercise with Lynn Siegel, where she had conference attendees reflect on their own lives to understand the value of experience. We used a worksheet that defined values, attitudes, and beliefs as they're defined on this slide. Value is anything you value for what it is or for its own sake, and it's pretty easy to change value. An attitude is a viewpoint composed of your physical, mental, and emotional habits. Attitudes are difficult to change, and then a belief is a strongly held commitment developed over time for the integration of values and attitudes, and a belief is most difficult to change. In the exercise that we did with Lynn, it became clear that a lot of the things that we do, we take for granted. A lot of the things we do involve alcohol. A lot of the things we do involve risk. A lot of the things we do involve money. And many of the things we do involve significant others. And often we don't have or afford the same opportunity to people with disabilities. We work in a service delivery system that has, over the course of time, developed beliefs that prevent us from supporting people in the least restrictive way. Because of past practices and some of our current practices, some people with the best of intentions see people with disabilities as unable to change and grow, unable to learn and achieve, and as a result, we wrap them in bubble wrap in some ways. We're slowly changing these beliefs through laws, and just culture's changing because of those laws, and people are being included more greatly. Okay, however, we continue to use and defend segregated system structures based upon the outdated beliefs that I've mentioned. These outdated beliefs are a huge barrier because of the amount of money they utilize. And we must constantly be checking ourselves when we're working with people with disabilities to ensure that our beliefs are not being transposed on the people we are supporting. So one of the exercises that will be outlined in a lot more detail in the guidebook under foundational principles is a guide on self-reflection. It's an activity for staff, guardians, anyone that's working with a person with disabilities. And a person that's providing support needs to be able to question their own values, attitudes, and beliefs, be aware of their biases so that they know whether they're trying to influence the decision that the person with disabilities is making. The questions such as what values, needs, and interests are nearly universal, all the way down to what is the risky activity the person wants to do. These 5 questions here are something for support staff and guardians to consider. We also move into the idea of past reflection of a rainbow of experience, and this was given to us by Trish Farnham in our early development of the manual or the guidebook. And after reflecting on our own thoughts, the person that's supporting an individual with disabilities has to really evaluate beyond illegal activities that can't be reimbursed through Medicaid, how or whether a person should be able to complete an activity. I mean, questions that support staff, guardians, anyone working with another individual should be considering when they're helping them and supporting them to do things is whether or not the activity is dangerous for anyone. And would I have strong concerns about anyone doing this? All the way to if I were denied this same experience, I would feel like my life wasn't complete. You'll notice that this progression is from a red to green, a stop to go. And the process is supposed to be a guide for the person receiving services, a guardian or direct support professionals discussing the activity with the person and doing their best not to push their beliefs onto that person. This becomes a real challenge when you're supporting someone and you're worried about health and safety as primary pieces. These are things that we've been touching on and encountering throughout the entire initiative. And this is just a piece of what's in the guidebook. So what we've been able to show you, I mean, we've given you a summary of our efforts. We felt like it was necessary to just share with everyone what we've been doing over the last 3 years, because a lot's happened with supported living. Sometimes you have to step back and just appreciate that. There's a great poem called Desiderata, Things to be Desired by Max Ehrmann. It was written in 1952. One of the lines in that poem is, enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. And everyone that's been involved in this initiative over the last 3 years, there's been some achievements. There's still plenty to do, but there's been some achievements, and we thought we should highlight those. And then we've taken a look at some of the things that will be on the web page that will be available in years to come. And of course, the videos outshine everything else. You've got to see a sampling of those. There will be a few more. And then we touched on a couple of the activities or exercises or resources that will be available on the page, and we're giving you an overview of things to expect there. Now we're going to shift gears And Caitlin's going to share some of the important takeaways that we have learned and will be summarized in our report. So I'll pass it off to you, Caitlin.
And Jesse, go ahead and stand by for just 1 second. I'm working with Caitlin to figure out why her audio is not working. So give us just one moment.
Okay. This is one of the great things about technology. We can be in on three different parts of the planet trying to present this information to you. And then, of course, you always run into some technical difficulties. I hope everyone was able to hear the videos, because that was our first challenge.
All right, sorry about that, Jesse. Caitlin should be joining us in audio here in just 1 second. I think we found the problem, so she will be able to speak with the group in just a moment.
Hi, this is Caitlin. Can you hear me?
Hi, Caitlin. We can hear you.
Oh, wow. So I could hear you guys the entire time, and so I kept starting and restarting. I apologize. So I will very quickly talk about some of the evaluation that we did. So I really appreciated the opportunity to be part of this initiative, because it did incorporate such an intensive evaluation that we modeled off of a co-production model of evaluation. I think the best way to describe a co-production model is by understanding the principles of nothing about me without me, in that when we were designing the evaluation, we asked the people who were most impacted by the supported living initiative to share their expectations of the initiative and to talk with us about what we should measure very early on in the project, or early on in year one. And then based on what we found from them over the next couple of years, we continually evaluated those factors to see how the initiative was doing to support people. So to do this, we interviewed people who were using supported living services or who were thinking about using supported living services. We interviewed family members of people who were using supported living services. And then we interviewed stakeholders from each of those four agencies who Jesse mentioned that were providing supported living services that were part of this initiative. And within those agencies, we interviewed people who were working in the direct support role, people who were working in across the agency in middle management, in a director role, and including the executive directors of the agency. So each year we developed a report highlighting the successes of the supported living initiative and then some of the lessons learned as well. So in this third year, we compiled that info really into lessons learned and strategies that have made supported living successful, so that hopefully people can use this information when they're either considering supported living or when they're thinking about how they're going to evaluate it within the agencies that they're providing services, or if they're people who are using services in their families, to understand better what it is that people should be getting from supported living and what makes it great. I wanted to highlight some of the things that we learned, particularly from the people with disabilities who were using supported living services throughout the initiative in the time that we have left, and then give a little bit of time for questions. So I'm just going to share two things with you, and then just say for more information, like what I'm going to share, please take a look at the report that we are developing, that is almost ready to be disseminated, so that you can also learn a good deal, or everything that we learned as well. So I think the first thing that we learned from people who were using services was that when people were, the supported living services needed to be flexible, and that when services were flexible, or people who were using supported living services really thrived. And flexible services look like people not only controlling or feeling like they were in control over their services in their lives, but it also looks like services and agencies really working to adapt to the person's needs as they change, to the person's wants in their services as they changed over time. So for instance, early on in the initiative, I was talking to some direct support professionals who were saying that they were supporting someone who had used a much more traditional service previously, and that the person kept asking them, when they would say, "What do you want to do with your day?" The person was not used to having so many choices in their life, so they kept looking for validation, like, is that okay? Are you okay with the decisions that I'm making, and things like that. And then as supported living services kept going on for this person and really demonstrating that they were going to be flexible to this person's life, she became much more confident in the decisions that she was making. And the direct support professionals were able to adapt that with her, so that they were providing a lot less validation and really just following her lead by the end of the year. We heard about the need for flexibility in a couple of other ways from people who are using services. One person said that flexibility for them meant that licensing didn't come into their home and tell them how they could set up their home anymore. And then you saw the video with Nicole, who also said that she expected her services to be flexible, which meant that at the time that I met her, she had just broken up with her boyfriend. And so she was saying that she was feeling a little down and needed a little bit more support in her life. But she said that the moment that she got another boyfriend and that she was feeling more up, she wanted her services to adapt to that and to get out of her home and to get out of her life, and so she could have a little bit more free time and a little bit more space and privacy with her boyfriend. So I didn't get to interview her this year, but it looks like from the video, her supported living services have really been able to adapt to that with her. Finally, the one other lesson that we really learned from people who were using services was that successful supported living services happen when people who are providing supports and people who are in that person's life believe in them. Supported living was really successful for people when more people said yes in their lives and provided opportunities to fail than said no. And like Jesse said, got in people's way because they were afraid of risk. For instance, in the first year, I interviewed Brittany, who you also saw in the video briefly, who at the time was transitioning into supported living services. And she said that she was looking forward to more people believing in her and her life. She said she was living in kind of a transition apartment at the time, and she was really interested in learning to cook, but she had like a hot plate in her apartment because she said she had to essentially prove that she wasn't going to burn down her apartment with a hot plate before she was graduated up to an oven. And in our conversation, you could really see how that affected Brittany, because she felt like under supported living services, she really wanted people to believe in her and give her that space to try things and maybe burn some rice or something like that, so that she could learn on her own. When I interviewed her later, she was really a lot happier with her services as the agency and as people have learned with her to be more flexible and to believe in her more in her life. Her supported living services have become really successful. So again, that's a really short overview of some of the lessons that we've learned and some of the strategies that have worked. And the report will have a lot more information for you going forward. Jesse, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, I had to get my phone off of mute. Drew, have any questions come in while we've been presenting this information?
Yeah, hi, thanks Jesse and Caitlin for your presentation on what you guys went through this project. There is one written question, and it reads as follows. When will the resource manual be available, and where can we access it?
The intent is to send all the information for the manual to the council no later than end of the first week of January. We may meet that date because we have a spreadsheet where we have the topics I mentioned and then the resources that'll be linked to that. We'll be sending all of that information to Philip at the council, and then he will share that with the agency that manages their web page. And based on how they usually move pretty quickly, I think that the whole book or the whole page should be available on the council's web page no later than the end of January.
Perfect, thank you. And then we do have one participant, Courtney Ward, who has raised her hand. If you guys think you have time to take a stated question, I can go ahead and unmute her line.
We will take the question. Answers are not guaranteed.
Okay, Courtney, can you hear us? Courtney, if you have a question, I see your hand was raised. You are unmuted if you want to ask your question. All right, well, I will go ahead and mute Courtney again. She might not be available. So with that, those are all the questions that we have received. So as stated, we will be passing this recorded webinar back over to Jesse and the team for them to be able to archive it and share it. And with that, unless there are any other closing comments, Jesse or Caitlin, we will go ahead and end today's webinar.
I thank everyone for their patience with us today and working with us over the past 3 years, and hope everyone enjoys the holiday season.
Great. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for your time today.